I am very pleased to welcome to Antigua a delegation from the government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, headed by the Honorable Minister Camilo Gonzalez and the distinguished Dr. Gerald Thompson. And I would also like to welcome most profoundly the delegation from the Tobago House of Assembly, represented next to me by Mr. Cadet, Mr. Huey Cadet. Their invitation to Antigua is as a result of the collaboration that the government of Antigua and Barbuda has had with Digicel in the Government Assisted Technology Endeavor GATE project. Since the establishment and the commencement of the GATE project, all of the deliverables have been completed, namely the allocation of thousands of tablets, in excess currently of 3,000 tablets to students, both in private schools and public schools in the secondary school system. The deployment of LTE high-speed 4G connectivity in hundreds of government offices, as well as the deployment of the 4G LTE equipment to hundreds of senior public servants and senior government officials, as well as the deployment of cutting-edge 4G LTE technology across all ministries and all operations of government. And last, and by no means least, the ICT Cadet Program, the award-winning Canto Project of the Year award, I believe last year or the year before. Against that backdrop, it was a pleasure of the Ministry of Telecommunications, represented by my senior technical personnel and myself, to have spent the last couple of hours here with the two delegations, sharing with them what are the successes and challenges, as it were, of the government-assisted technology endeavor. Against the backdrop of the discussions that we have had with both delegations, I am pleased to indicate that in the case of the government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, the government of Antigua and Barbuda, through the Ministry of Telecommunications, has agreed to take several of their media personnel for internship positions in the new media unit here at the GATE training facility. The same applies to the Tobago House of Assembly, and the commitment is that the government would develop a specialized 2-week program for these individuals, specifically focusing on audiovisual techniques, web journalism, video scripting, and video editing. So it's my pleasure to have them here in Antigua, and I'd like to invite first the Honorable Minister Camilo Gonzalez for a few remarks, followed by Dr. Gerald Thompson, my very good friend and colleague, and then followed by Mr. Huey Cadet. Minister Gonzalez.
Thank you very much, Minister Mansour. It's a pleasure to be here in Antigua and Barbuda, and doubly so to have the opportunity to visit this wonderful facility, which we think represents currently a regional best practice, certainly in the OECS and quite likely in the larger Caribbean. A lot of governments, all governments, talk about the knowledge-based society and a knowledge-based economy to the point that it has become a little bit cliched. But nobody talks about what it means in a practical sense. And this facility and the cadet program and the incredible work that Minister Mansour and the government of Antigua and Barbuda has done in a relatively short period of time indicates that a lot of thought has been put into this vision, a real, in practical terms, of what it means to transition towards a knowledge-based economy and society. Antigua and Barbuda, by most metrics, by most measurements, is leading in the OECS in terms of its ICT development. There is an ICT development index that lists Antigua and Barbuda first in the OECS and one of the leading countries in the Americas for their the way in which they have deployed ICT and the way in which ICT has penetrated the society and lives of Antiguans. And we in St. Vincent and the Grenadines are trying to do our own development and our own integration of ICT and new media and new technologies into the fabric of our society and into our economies. And really and truly, if you want to do that in the OECS right now, you have to make a pilgrimage to Antigua and Barbuda to see what the government of Antigua and Barbuda has done in their own setting. The practical experience that is available to the cadets in this program is phenomenal. The fact that Antigua and Barbuda is the first country in the region to have successfully negotiated and deployed high-speed 4G LTE indicates the energy and the commitment of the minister to making sure that the latest technology is available to the citizens. And we have a lot to learn from the ministry, from the minister, and from the government more widely on how to implement public-private partnerships to help develop citizens and society. Anybody, any government can come to the public and promise more jobs in the fields of existing industries. Whether or not they can deliver them is another matter, but anybody can come and promise them in more jobs in tourism, more jobs in industry, and so on. But it takes a creative and innovative government to see and conceptualize entirely new sectors that Antiguans can exploit and benefit from. We all say that our countries lack natural resources, but we have the talents in our minds. Facilities like this and programs like this show exactly how we can mine that resource of our creativity and our talent. St. Vincent and the Grenadines is certainly trying to do a lot in a similar way, as all countries will do. But this facility and the way in which the program has been thought out and implemented in partnership with other government agencies, in partnership with the private sector, and in partnership with young people, placing all the trust that they've placed in young people, is a fantastic testament to the vision of the minister and the commitment of the government. And we're very grateful to be here. Minister Mansour has generously offered to host some young Vincentians so that we can learn more from the new media initiatives that the government has implemented here at the gate. And we hope to replicate in some small way the successes that you've already demonstrated. We gratefully accept the offer. And certainly what Dr. Thompson and I have seen and learned today will help us to shape our own initiatives in ICT and developing our own contribution to a wider knowledge-based Caribbean. So we're very grateful and thank you very much.
Thank you very much. So my name is Gerald Thompson. I am a former Minister of Telecommunications, St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And I'd have gotten to know Dr. Mansour since 2005. As a matter of fact, we have collaborated in so many different areas, and one of the things is that we have learned that it's important that we share information, legislative agenda, otherwise. However, I think it was about 2 years ago in Miami at Canto. I would have made a presentation on behalf of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. I think Dr. Mansour would have made the presentation on behalf of Antigua. And to be truthful, I think the award that went to Antigua was well deserved. And I think since that time, we have been looking at the plans that Antigua has had for its gate, as well as a number of other things that it has on the agenda. And I tell you, we have been quite impressed at the fact that Dr. Mansour and his team have been able to implement this whole program. An important part of this has been the collaboration with the private sector. And we have decided to come here to Antigua to really look at how He's done it here in Antigua, the Antiguan model. In St. Vincent, we have had our own success in a number of areas, but I think that there's still been a tremendous amount of things to learn from the way Antigua has done it. And I think today, a lot of the different countries in the Caribbean, maybe throughout the rest of the world, look at Antigua as a very important model to pattern in terms of and reshape our own development. So I really want to congratulate Dr. Mensah and certainly congratulate Antigua and all the various participants in this GATE project, but I think that it's something that we will go back and look at and see how we can implement ourselves. Thank you.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, honorable ministers, director, special projects from St. Vincent. On behalf of the Tobago House Assembly, and particularly the Division of Education, Youth Affairs and Sport, of which I'm the secretary, I of course would like to thank you for hosting us here today, and of course for your generous offer of the opportunity to continuing this this partnership and this collaboration. We in the Tobago House Assembly, and I myself in particular, was very enthused at the opportunity we had to view this project. I mean, any project I think that combines the opportunity for young people to gain exposure, to become more employable, and to broaden the horizons, for me personally, is an excellent one. My own personal background, having been involved in youth work for a number of years, Caribbean Federation of Youth, I think it's always good when we can allow opportunity for young people to grasp concepts and things that are very interesting to them and utilize that for building their own horizons and their own levels of employability. I really want to commend the Honorable Minister and the government of Antigua Barbuda for this initiative. I mean, for us in Trinidad and Tobago, and in particular in Tobago, we have our own laptop initiative which currently exists and has been in place through the central government for the last 4 years. In Tobago, we have not only community-based telecenters in our Division of Community Development and Culture, but of course all our schools through the Division of Education have their own laboratories, ICT laboratories. But I think for us, what was instrumental in looking at the program here in Antigua and Barbuda is the attempt to deepen the penetration as it relates to internet access and widen the participation of the household and the family in terms of the internet access, widen in terms of the teachers and their involvement. So I think for us, we saw an opportunity where immediately we can look at our programs that currently exist and broaden what we're doing and doing it even better. So again, for us, we are very happy to have participated in this initiative. We think it is an excellent one, and we really want to commend the government of Antigua and Barbuda. We have, of course, a similar kinds of programs to our on-the-job training program, our Youth Empowered for Success program in the Tobago House Assembly, which provides young people the opportunity to partner and to work in industry and in organizations, both within the Tobago House Assembly and in the private sector, and allows them to get real-world practical skills. And I think what we saw here today is similar. And we saw, however, I think what was different in speaking to one of the cadets in her own assessment, and the person spoke to a sense of happiness. I think very often some of the OJT programs that exist, that I think is the fundamental difference, the level of excitement that the participant gets from the exposure in the program. And I think for us, that has to be a hallmark for it. Yes, you have the practical component, yes, you have the life skills, but on top of that, how does the individual feel about participating in this program? How has it, transformed their life, and how do they feel? And I think for us, that for me was instructive and very poignant for this whole experience, that in looking at our own OJT and our youth empowerment, or Empowered for Success, how do we ensure that that person gains a sense of a well-being, a good feeling about themselves and their participation in the program. So again, let me offer sincere congratulations to the Minister and the government, and we, of course, in the Tobago House Assembly look forward to continuing this collaboration with yourself and with Digicel, and we look forward, of course, to seeing how we could roll out some aspect of this program in Tobago. I thank you.
Thank you. We'll take a few questions, please. So give us your name and what media outfit you're from.
Elisa Graham, ABS Television. Dr. Menso, could you just go into a little bit of detail as to exactly what the participants from both Tobago and St. Vincent will be experiencing when they come here?
It will be a 2-week specialized training in new media techniques, audiovisual, script writing, web journalism, and voiceovers. Intense 2 weeks program. That will be hopefully the forerunner to, if the government so desire, to them establishing, if not similar programs, counterpart programs where they can boost up not only the training of young Vincentians and Tobagonians, as it were, but also to create additional content and put it online. It will be the staff here at the New Media Unit. Yes, sir?
Carlin Knight, Zero Media. This question is to Mr. Gonzalez. So what were the highlights of your visit to Antigua, and certainly what are some of the things you intend to take back to St. Vincent and also to the gentleman from Tobago as well?
Well, I think the highlight for me has been the way in which all of these disparate aspects of media and new technology have been united not only in a single facility, but the facility in itself is symbolic of a single purpose and vision. All of the countries in the Caribbean now are getting into ICT and developing programs to help access and harness ICT. St. Vincent and the Grenadines has a very successful laptop program. You heard that Tobago has a similar program. But what is happening is that a number of these developments are happening, as they say, in silos. There's not a coordination of all the various threads into a whole, a tapestry. And what Antigua and Barbuda has managed to do is really unite all of these threads into a single drive and vision. Here's a facility that is educating young people in multiple aspects involving ICT. They have new media, they have computer repair, they have writing, production skills, they have administrative skills, logging the tablets and all of these sorts of things. These are all skills that we're all trying to develop to build capacity. But very often we're not having the success we could have because everybody is doing their own discrete project and they're not united in the way that they're united here. 5 years ago, 10 years ago, all of the things being done in the studio right now would have been done with imported talent. People would have come from overseas, from somewhere outside of the region, to produce television shows, to produce media content, to repair your machines, to deal with administrative tasks related to computers. Now it's being done by young people, Antiguans. St. Vincent and the Grenadines wants it done by young Vincentians. I'm sure Tobago and Trinidad and Tobago wants it done by young Trinidadians and young Tobagonians. And this facility has shown how you can unite all of the things. So it's not any one physical thing that I've seen, but it's the manner in which they've all been united into a single enterprise, which is really involves a lot of thought. Any foreign agency can come in, or any business can come in with their own discrete interest and say, we'd like to help you do this or that. And then you'll develop this or that. But it won't be connected and related to all of the other things that you need to do to introduce young people to ICT and to develop young people. But this initiative shows that someone or some group of someones have thought the thing through and found out ways to find synergies and harmonies. And that's the most impressive thing to me.
I think what the Honourable Minister suggested and shared, I think also what's stuck with me is that very often with ICT and things related to the new age and multimedia is that very often we get involved, but we don't ensure that it's sustained and make sure that we are the cutting edge. And that has what impressed me, that the equipment is at the cutting edge, it's up to date, it's exciting, it's relevant. I think clearly the involvement of young people, not only as participants, but in the leadership and in the implementation is important. I think the wide participation of the community has also in my mind struck me, and of course the participation of the public and the private sector. I think as a region, very often government, especially small island developing states like Antigua, Barbuda, and Tobago, to some extent St. Vincent, very often government has to serve as the main facilitator in driving a lot of initiative. And I think recognizing that this project, as the Honorable Minister Mansour went through his presentation, you recognize at every step there was a critical involvement of the private sector in ensuring and recognizing that government cannot and will not be able to do it alone. And I think that is important. And lastly, from my, as I said, own involvement in youth work, one of the models you always try to say that you excite young people, you will get them involved, and then you will get commitment. I think you have been able to see that the young people who are participating in this program, whether at the leadership level or as the cadets, they are excited about it. They feel like they've been involved in a meaningful way, and therefore you can see from their own behavior and how they speak that they are committed to this program. And I think that is what I will take away from this visit here today.
Dr. Mansour, sorry. Is there a plan to export this particular model to wider CARICOM and to present it to CARICOM ICT ministers across the region?
We have already had visits from, as you might be aware, from the government of Papua New Guinea, and they have expressed an interest in assembling a gate project similar to ours, and we have had fairly elaborate discussions. We have had visits from, I believe it is the government of Grenada, and today Tobago and St. Vincent and the Grenadines. We stand ready to collaborate and work with anybody in the CARICOM region who has an interest in collaboration and in sort of studying what we have been doing. And as I said, we have had successes and we've had challenges, and where we can find models in other Caribbean countries that we can replicate or partner with, we will do it. So the short answer is yes, we believe in the One CARICOM region, but more importantly, I believe that the issue of creating Caribbean content in all of its manifestations, the music, the culture, the fine arts, the pottery, the fishing, etc., we can begin showcasing to the world what it is that makes us tick on a day-to-day basis, what we can do together to partner to export our culture. This is why, Mr. Knight, that for the last 3 years, the new media unit has been putting Carnival in Antigua and Barbuda on Facebook and on YouTube. You're talking about over the Carnival season, maybe 10 to 12,000 photographs and dozens of video clippings, because you have to satisfy that thirst for content that is on demand and online all the time. So we stand ready to collaborate, and the outward manifestation of the collaboration exists today, as you can see, with the commitment of the government to collaborate. And we stand ready to work very closely with the government of St. Vincent and with the Tobago House of Assembly. We're ready to start the collaboration as of Monday morning.
This goes back to the delegation from both St. Vincent and Tobago. On a more, I think, lighter note, how has your Antiguan experience been? Have you gotten a chance as yet, or will you get a chance to experience some of the more pleasurable side of the island?
Not long enough, but maybe you could show us around after the show. Antigua and Barbuda is a beautiful country. I mean, everybody knows that, and it has quite a lot to offer visitors. I've visited very often. I think Dr. Thompson has visited quite frequently as well. So we're very familiar with Antigua and Barbuda, but unfortunately this particular trip is sort of fly in and fly out. So we're not going to have an opportunity this time, unless Gerald gets to run away between now and our flight.
Not at all. You know, I think that with, OECS unity, there's a need for the various peoples of the different islands to start getting to know each other a little more. It may not be possible for us to physically visit, but through this new media, we may well be able to learn a lot more. I mean, what I've seen in terms of being presented about Antigua and what's now being put up on YouTube and what's being put up on Facebook, I'm going to be looking at these things a lot more. Maybe I'll be learning certain things about Antigua that when I do return here, I'll know a lot more about where I should go and nice place to visit, and about the wonderful people of Antigua, what they're really all about.
Let me just say that the visit was indeed a very short one. I had the opportunity to run down to Heritage Key and Big Banana yesterday. Antigua is a place I have fond memories of. I spent some part of my honeymoon a few years ago here. It's always reminds me a lot of home. Tobago, blue waters, white sand beaches and stuff like that. So it is something that we share in common. But again, I've always been impressed by the hospitality in Antigua and its beauty. But it was obviously a too short a visit to take in all. But I did have a chance to still do some aspect of it.
Well, thank you very much for this part. Thank you very much to the Honorable Minister Camilo Gonzalez, Dr. Gerald Thompson, and Mr. Cadet from the Tobago House of Assembly. Thank you, and we will proceed to the second part of the media briefing. Thank you very much.